All right, it's Friday, October 13th. This is an end of the day and end of the week SPY recap. And today, to end the week, we end up with a 2 down day. We took out the low of the previous day with another red bar. Yesterday's red bar was a inside bar failure 3 bar. So there wasn't really an actionable signal, but it did signal some choppiness inside of that bar. So we were really going to judge where the opening price if we opened up inside of this bar, which was likely given that we closed right here. We were going to judge with some potential choppiness what really the open would give us. And if we look at the open today, just real quickly, and then I'll get to some bigger picture stuff, we had the pre-market range between the blue lines. First bar, classic, taking out the pre-market high, stops and then kind of pausing. Second bar pause, so just a classic inside bar break to the downside here to sell or to buy puts. And we took out that first bar low, and you can see that took us all the way down to our first target, which was the pre-market lows. Given that it was a red bar from yesterday, at that point you're kind of expecting yesterday's lows to be taken out down here. And after kind of pausing here for a bar or two, it took out that yesterday's low. Then we rallied a little bit, and I shot some videos. There was a secondary trade that actually made some sense to take, this little shooter bar selling right here, and then to test the, you had about an hour's worth of good price action here to test the intraday lows, and then we just chopped around, closed near the bottom of the range. So the reason all the selling is unfolding, and we've been monitoring for that all week long. And actually, I'm going to expand this and go day by day in a second, just to show you how this week unfolded. Because generally, what happened here, last week we had the hammer bar, so you're expecting the highs to be taken out and kind of to reach our first target there. Then we're into this big value gap. I've been discussing that all week, and at any moment in this area you can get reversals. But we did have, the open right here of the week, that as long as we stayed above there, we would continue to go long and see how high into this gap it might want to take us. But we were clearly looking for potential reversals in this area. Just classic, chart reading here on the weekly chart. Also, the important thing here on the monthly chart, the 2 down month triggered very early in the month, and then we started rallying a little bit. So we're not even halfway through this month. We still have, I think, 12 more days of trading. This is still in force as long as we hold the midpoint of that monthly bar to get down to our next monthly target down here. Obviously, it started there and then had a little bit of a move up, but any reversal that comes back through there, we're still in force on the 2 down month at the moment, even though we're green. So it's a little, conflict in terms of the short term, but we're aware that at any moment things could flip back to the downside. And I've been talking about on the quarterly chart, same kind of thing. We had the 2 down quarter. As long as we stay here, we have 3 months now, or 2.5 months, to get down to this deeper target down here. So, but the first one would be the monthly, target that still is in force to head down here. But in order for that to develop, you're going to have to get reversals, first on the daily chart, which we sort of have here. And this 3 bar from yesterday, even though it could have moved up, it looks like it wants to expand a little lower, and that means this little short-term broadening action is moving to bigger broadening action. So our next targets start coming down here. Once we get down here, this low, that all of a sudden changes the low of that changes the monthly chart back to red, the quarterly chart back to red. So, that's why if this is going to expand to the downside, all kinds of bigger time frame levels kick in to start reaching some lower targets. Anyway, you can see here on the weekly chart, we have this shooter bar. It looks kind of like a shoot. So that means to me, it's not guaranteed to make a 2 down week, but it looks like it wants to try to do that. We'll see what happens, but there's definitely resistance at the midpoint of that tail up in here. And quite frankly, this is like an actionable signal to the upside now. You have the 2 down, 2 up. So if something gaps up big on Monday, which I'm not expecting, that is an actionable signal to buy it, and then we'll be heading higher into this gap. But as long as we kind of hold the midpoint of this bar, this selling tail here, then I'm going to continue to think that this can start a 2 down week, which then triggers the month, gets the month back in force and everything else. So that's what we're looking for here. it would be like a 3-2-2 continuation, and it's a little bit of exhaustion risk. It doesn't look that extended, but if we get a 2 down, then maybe you're going to have to get a little bit of an inside bar or a 2 up, but then that next 2 down would be a great, high probability signal. But in the meantime, we're going to go with whatever develops here in the short run, expecting lower given this weekly bar. So anyway, just to recap on the week, just to show you, after this big reversal day to end the week last week, we're kind of expecting those highs to be taken out. Again, if you looked at that hammer bar, we kind of expected us to move up there. And that's what happened right on Monday here. Now, it happened in a way where we held the midpoint of the prior day. I remember this, we kind of came down a little bit, had to take out that first bar low and then fail and then start up. So there was your buy there, and we kind of worked up all day. Next day, we hit a target. You can see here right out of the gates, very good morning trade to the upside after the first 15-minute bar continued higher, and then nothing happened all day. From here, it was a lot of failures were starting to unfold. If you look the last 3 days, this day was now I'm not showing the pre-market range on these days, but generally the first bar, held, took out some stops, then it started immediately lower, 1 push, 2 pushes down in the morning. There's your morning trade right there. This trade here was the inside bar failure that we were looking for. I shot a video. This is the inside bar that formed. So on Thursday, we did, right out of the gates, we had a potential failure, and I discussed how you could have went short there, maybe I had to take a small loss, and then the key sign that this was going to unfold was we just took out the first bar high and then immediately reversed. So if you look at that first bar as kind of a reference point, we did start below it to start. Then on this little rally up, it couldn't really follow through above that and hold, and then immediately reversed. And there's your sell signal. And we shot a whole video how that was an inside bar failure to downside. And then today was just a classic sell signal too, right out of the open, as I just discussed. So, took out the first bar low after a pause on bar 2. So this was great, 1, 2 down, and now we're all set up for a reversal. We'll see what happens next week. But I just wanted to kind of recap that even though we kind of expected things to go up early in the week, we were aware all in this area with gaps in the weekly chart that we could be reversing. And we had some great opportunities, I think, the last 2 days. The inside bar, you're always looking for failures. And today was just a classic, taking out that pre-market range high and immediately moving lower, in line with kind of the fact that this could be an area that might start down. So let's just see next week. We still have a lot of time to go, but I'm going to key on that downside for now. But as always, we'll see, this is the opening price of this week. We will see, let's say, we open, wherever we open is going to be the key thing on Monday, and that's going to be our reference point for the rest of the week. If we're above it, it might be green. If we're below it, we'll stay red. And as long as we stay red, then we're going to look for 2 down week to trigger back to the red month, and then some of those monthly targets below. So there's some definite chain reaction stuff going on if we can get to the downside. So that's it for the week, and let's just see how things unfold starting Monday.